certain clients, if they want to go without a permit, if you want to cut corners, we're not the people for that because we stand behind our products.
Dustin Slegtenhorst is Ryan's new site supervisor, bringing years of industry experience, a relentless professional drive, and a reputation for being an all-around great guy. With a sharp eye for detail and a passion for getting the job done right, Dustin is already making waves on the job site and proving himself to be an invaluable member of the team.
There's a difference between reading it and applying it. Yeah, you need to learn by being on site and being hands-on.
In this episode, we get to know Dustin, his journey in the construction world, what fuels his dedication to excellence, and what drives him up the wall.
You're supposed to hire licensed trades to do these things instead of having laborers running your heat runs and then punching holes in it.
Whether you're curious about life on a busy construction site or looking for inspiration from someone who truly loves what they do, this episode has it all.
I enjoy giving people the product they pay for. I enjoy guiding them through the process. The clients and the homeowners, they appreciate that through and through.
Hi everyone, I am so excited to announce that my podcast is now officially sponsored by Baumler Approved. Over the past year, I've had a privilege of being able to work with Brian Baumler and his team, shining a light on the amazing tradespeople in the trades community. And now, with their support, we are going to take things to the next level. We are inviting Ottawa tradespeople, tilers, framers, electricians, you name it, to join us on the podcast. If you're passionate about your work and you want to share your story, talk about the highs and lows of running your business, we want to hear from you. And especially if you have tips for homeowners. So stay tuned. There's so much more coming. But if you want to be on the podcast and you're a tradie here in Ottawa, reach out. We definitely want to hear from you.
We have hundreds of contractors that love what they do. They're skilled. We've done the background checks. These are companies that share a mindset with us, that are out there to take care of people. This is a service for homeowners, to just give you that green flag.
Dustin.
Ryan.
Welcome to the show.
Appreciate you having me.
You know, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to you because you actually work for the construction company that I own.
That's right.
And you recently joined us. Kind of stepping in where Joel left. Yep. And you approached me and you said you wanted to work for me. And I was like, no.
That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah. But after much conversation, we decided to merge.
A little bit of a banter back and forth, yeah. Took a little bit of hashing out the details, but over a couple months, I think we found a good fit.
Yeah. And, the reason why I wanted to have you on the show and to talk to you is because of the bantering conversations that we had when we were talking about what it would look like if you and me teamed up to do renovations. And some of the things that you've seen in the past.
Oh, man. There's an encyclopedia about that.
I said to Andy, our producer, I said, we're going to get Dustin on the show because he'll have an honest conversation with us about some of the crap that we've seen. I say it like...
Without a doubt.
But before we get into some of the horror stories, and I know you have at least a few that we can share, let's talk about how you were raised in the trades and how you got the skill set, because you have a quite wide berth of a skill set.
Yeah, that's true. And I appreciate that. And it goes back to pretty much since I could walk.
Yeah.
My father was a woodworker through and through, and he owned a sawmill, and we used to fabricate our own timber framing and make these beautiful things out of, walnut, maple, oak, and we even built a log home together. Right. So it's in my blood, really.
Yeah. And when did you start taking, there's a point when you start taking it seriously as a kid.
Oh, 100%. And, between you and I, me being Dutch, a little bit cheap here. Okay. I wanted to make sure that I could do stuff in my own home instead of hiring people to do it. Okay. And that's why I wanted to excel in doing stuff for myself, because if I have the capabilities to do it, why would I pay somebody to do it?
Yeah.
And that was driven in me from a young age too. Okay, you can do this, you can do that, my dad used to say.
I don't know if I agree with that logic. I prefer they pay people to do stuff.
Wow.
Being owning a company. But,
yeah.
But out of high school, how did you get involved in the trades?
Well, during high school, I worked for a cabinet making shop, and I used to make countertops, small cabinets, do cuts for customers and stuff like that. And then I got offered a job from a guy who used to, get me to make his cabinets and countertops and stuff like that. And then I jumped right into the trades world right after high school.
Where were you making these cabinetries? Like in your dad's workshop? Or?
No, I was making it at the cut shop at Rona.
Oh, okay.
On Innes Road, yeah.
Okay, right here in Ottawa.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we used to make custom countertops, obviously laminate.
You used to be able to get a cut. You can't get laminate cut, like totally off topic, but you used to be able to go to Rona or Home Depot or
Yep.
whatever, and they would cut the countertop for you, but they
Yep.
don't anymore.
Yep. Might be a liability thing. I don't know. When I was working there, I put my finger through a router. So just saying.
You still have your fingers though.
Well, yeah, there's all 10 there.
Yeah, okay. You left there and you went to work for a renovation company?
Correct. And they would do small to larger scale renovations and stuff
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
And then that lasted a couple months. The boss was not the nicest, to be honest. And then he used to subcontract me out to another project manager, if you will.
Okay.
And I excelled at the work that I did, and he offered me a job right away.
Okay.
And that guy that got subcontracted to me, his name was Mike.
Yeah.
He ended up taking me under his wing, and I became his apprentice.
Nowadays, I worry that the apprenticeship program is more theory than it is hands-on.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to learn by being on site and being hands-on.
Yeah.
At least I do anyways. Everybody's different, but there's a difference between reading it and applying it.
Yeah. We see, you and me, we have, like right now we have 2 apprentices, let's say, that work for the company. And I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in the real world that these, kids, let's say,
Yep.
they come from school not really knowing like what on-site conditions will dictate and like how.
100%.
Yeah. And you didn't have that. Like you were right into working with Mike, who I guess was kind of your mentor, kind of
That's
taught
right.
you a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
What do you think about the apprenticeship program the way it is now?
Well, I do feel like it is good to have skills on the back end and, like for load bearings and ratings and stuff on how to make sure that you're framing stuff properly and everything like that. But 90% of it is hands-on experience from the job site.
Yeah.
You have to work with what you're presented. You have to think outside the box. You're not taught that kind of stuff in school. And not only that, you may be taught how to cut certain things, properly, but it's in a perfectly well set up stage. It's in a beautiful setting for you.
Right.
Whereas on-site conditions aren't always like that. Like in the class, you're sitting on a concrete floor, whereas on-site, I'm up to my knees in mud sometimes. Right?
Right.
So you gotta roll with the punches there.
And in class, whatever you're working on is perfectly square.
Exactly.
And I haven't been in a square home yet.
Yep.
So let's talk about the horror stories, because we have a TV show here in Ottawa.
Yep.
You've seen some of the horror stories that we've dealt with. You've been behind the scenes on a couple of them.
Been a part of quite a few, yeah.
Yeah. We could talk about the Diamond series because you were around when we were recording that one. You did the railing there for us to go downstairs. You saw that staircase. You were the one actually who recommended Troy, the concrete guy, to come and help us fix that mess of a concrete staircase. That was a disaster.
Yeah.
Basic measurements weren't followed. But let's talk about your tell me your top story. I know you're laughing. Tell me your top story. Like what? Like if we want a homeowner who's going to tune into this show and be like, oh my God.
I worked for a renovation company back in 2017, and they promised. I built a 2-story addition on the back of the house.
Okay.
It was about 550 square feet per floor, so about 1,100 square foot addition. Good size.
Good size addition.
Wall-to-wall windows, beautiful, right down next to the CHIO hospital.
Okay.
And we're doing the framing, finished the framing up. We did our spray foam. We're doing our mechanical, running the heat runs above the spray foam, all that jazz. And they promised the homeowners heated floor system. Okay. We're putting hardwood down.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a red flag right there.
Yeah.
And then what the boss told me at the time was we're going to provide them with a heated floor system by drilling pinholes into the heat runs that are getting supplied to the exterior windows. Talk about a red flag. So I denied it, and I said that's not up to code. We cannot do that. You're going to create a moisture space in that floor, and you're going to rot the floor system inside and out.
Yeah.
And not only that, but if you're pumping heat into an enclosed area, you need to have a cold air return.
Right.
And what happens in a spray foam area when it's heated and cold air return?
You can't.
Off gases are going to come back into the house.
Yeah, you need to have it all sealed.
And then what happens when the off gases go back into the furnace and start poisoning the rest of the house?
Yeah.
Big red flag. I worked for this company for 6 months. that right there set me off, and I quit. Because the next day that I went there and I denied to do the work, they had another laborer doing that work. And I needed to wash my hands from that job. I can't be a part of this. I can't put my name on this.
Right.
I can't do anything with this. I have to walk away, and I quit.
Yeah.
Right then and there.
And that's a situation where probably it was already inspected.
100%. 100% it was already inspected. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. He was doing that, and then he was going to sheet over the floor and then forget about it. And then run hardwood on top of that.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to the hardwood after all that heat and moisture just sits in there? It's just going to warp and cup and just get mangled.
Yeah.
You know, I can only imagine how that project turned out, but it's a sad thing, right? When
it's super common, but I'm really glad you told us that story, because here's the situation where a contractor does something after the inspection. So for all intents and purposes, it looks like that it's done well. And I don't think that people realize how much can be hidden.
Oh, you're right about that one. There's a significant amount, but there's also a reason why, you know, you're supposed to hire licensed trades to do these things, right? Instead of having laborers running your heat runs and then punching holes in it.
Yeah. So not an HVAC guy.
That's right.
Yeah, because no HVAC guy. And then the situation with something like that is it's not going to rot overnight.
Oh, no.
It's going to take years.
Yep.
Long outside the warranty program. Like long.
100%. And especially a floor system like that, where it's open web floor joists sitting on drop beams on helical piles.
So there's dirt underneath it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a recipe for disaster. That's just going to crumble over time.
What we do, you and I here for our renovation company, is quality.
Big time.
And it's hard for us to not focus on that, right? To our detriment sometimes.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
But when you're buying a new home, and you're buying the new home from a big builder, not a custom like we are, like we build custom homes, not us.
Yep.
They're doing 50, 60, 70 homes a year. That HVAC bid.
That's a light year.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a light year.
Yeah.
Some companies out there are doing 400 to 600 homes a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in like Toronto or the GTA or whatever. But that person doing the siding, that person doing the sheeting that you just talked about and the Tyvek, he's got 10 homes to do that day.
Well, that's just it too, right? So it's all about production, and it's meeting their quota. Not a lot of these, like, I don't say any of these guys, except for the employees of the companies that take these tenders, are paid by the hour, but these guys are paid by the job. And paid by square footages as to what they could put on. So it's as much as I can get on in a day. Get in, get out, see you later. You know, and I'm not saying that all of them are bad, Ryan, because there are really good framers. There's really good carpenters. There's really good roofers, siding guys, like in the Ottawa market. But, you know, if people don't meet that production, you know, they're not making money too, right? So you got to support your staff, you support your back end and everything as well.
Yeah, I find it scary.
It is, for sure.
And we talk about the building codes, you and I, a lot. But the minimum requirements, right? That's not something that, it's not the maximum building code. It's the minimum building code. And minimum is like, it's just that.
It's just getting by. What really blows me away in the Ottawa area is how minimal the building code is on new builds, but how much they blow it out of proportion on renovations. I've seen new builds with 1/4-inch plywood as an exterior sheathing.
Yes.
And they put strong arms in their walls for lateral strength on a diagonal.
Yes.
Whereas, you know, we need to put at least 1/2-inch plywood and then 1-inch foam and then strap it. Right?
Yes.
So that's like a huge, and let's say the addition that we build is only 150 square feet just for laundry facilities on the main floor for an elderly couple, which lives in a 50, 60-year-old home that has vermiculite in the exterior walls. That's barely an R10.
Right.
And we're throwing out there R30 in their exterior walls of a little bump out.
Right.
You know? So that's, I mean, the extremes that it can get to.
Yeah.
When it comes to different.
Well, we can have an intense conversation about inspectors and inspections. The city is so hard on renovation companies here who follow the rules.
Yep.
And yet I can, because I see both sides of it, because I'm involved with the TV show, I'm involved in a lot of renovations that are bad. There's no consequences other than being sued. but there's no consequences from the city for doing bad work, which is beyond me. Like, we could build something, we call a city inspector and he'll scrutinize us, and maybe rightfully so. I'm not saying that, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we could not call that inspector. The house could be a disaster, and the homeowners have there's nothing much they can do.
Yeah.
You know, it seems to me like there's an enforcement wing missing in the city of Ottawa when it comes to unpermitted jobs. They say that, right? Unpermitted.
Yeah, unpermitted. Yeah. So like, just like, even going back to like how much they're tough on us for renovations and stuff like that. You know, I feel like sometimes the contractors persuade the homeowner to go without a permit, and then that way they can cut these corners and do stuff like that because of how hard they are, the inspectors, on us. And they, you know, talk about that to the homeowners and say like, oh, you don't want to get a permit and don't want to get the city involved because they're so tough on this and that and the next thing, and it persuades them. It makes it easier for contractors to cut corners too.
Well, I get that. Like we I mean, Rob and I talked about that today. If someone, in my opinion, it's a character flaw if you're asking your contractor not to get a permit.
100%.
And Rob said it today, like, well, maybe they will decide not to pay that contractor. And then what do? Do you go tell, you sue them for doing illegal work that you didn't get paid for? It's kind of like, telling the police that your drug dealer didn't give you the right drugs. Like, it's not going to work, right? And I see it as a red flag. And I know that you and I share the same logic on this. As soon as a customer starts specifically telling us that they don't want a permit, we're done engaging with that customer.
That's right.
Because other than maybe a courtesy, no, there's better ways to save $80. As soon as they start pushing it, we're out.
Yep. And that's the right way to go too, because I feel like certain clients, if they want to go without a permit, maybe they want to cut corners. And if you want to cut corners, we're not the people for that, because we stand behind our product.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Very lucky that, we're able to team up together and do these things and do it right for the clients and make sure that the permits are all in order. Using licensed trades, having the right inspection process, and make sure that you inform the homeowner too as to what inspection is for what, and why they're happening and everything like that. Gives them comfort that they know that there's good things happening in their home.
How do you feel about involving the homeowner in the permit process and the inspection process?
I mean, personally, I like it. I do like to inform the client as to what's going on a day-to-day basis. It helps them feel comfortable. It makes sure that they know that they're getting a good product in the end. They know what's within their walls. Because a lot of people, they just come in and out, don't inform the client. Client doesn't know what's happening, what's in and about their walls. And then you can give that client that knowledge, and empowers them. And then that way they know what they're into for the next reno. And not only that, but it makes them comfortable, because it is their home after all.
And they spend a lot of money.
And I personally enjoy the fact about doing renovations is it's very personable. I enjoy giving people the product they pay for. I enjoy guiding them through the process. I like to make sure that they see the next step. And not a lot of people, but some can get frustrated. Why is this taking so long? Why is this? Why is that? But if you inform the homeowner every single day as to what's going on throughout the project, there's going to be a little bit less of that. Okay, well, we're doing drywall now. Drywall on a big addition is going to take a couple days to board, maybe a week and a half before you're mudded 3 coats, dry times, coming in, sand, prime check, that kind of stuff. Oh, okay, I didn't realize it was that, so it goes a long way. And the clients and the homeowners, they appreciate that through and through.
Yeah.
Spending 15 minutes at the end of each day answering questions and just informing them of the next steps and processes really makes them feel good about, signing up, and makes me feel good to help them out too, right?
Yeah, I think if a contractor is willing to walk through a job with a homeowner, with the inspector or without the inspector, what have you, the contractor's unlikely to hide something. They want the client to be part of the process.
That's right.
And that I agree with you 100%.
Yep.
If you were to give some advice to a homeowner, how would you tell a homeowner not to get ripped off?
Read a contract. First things first. Make sure it's descriptive. Make sure it's what you signed up for. And, make sure that all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed before you sign over and give that deposit, because I've seen some contracts that were half a page long for over $400,000. It doesn't even show anything close to what is represented in their basic architectural drawings.
Yeah.
Or basic design drawings at that, not even architectural.
Right.
You know, so make sure that you really get a good contract and read it through. Secondly, make sure that your contractor is using licensed trades and that has liability insurance and everything like that. And thirdly, references. If you could go through references, that makes a big statement right there.
Yeah. That's great advice. What about, like, and I get this, my wife actually asks me this question all the time, and maybe I haven't given a great answer yet, so I'm going to ask you. And I actually get it at the home shows a lot too.
Yeah.
You have a quote for a bathroom, one is 20 grand, one is 50 grand. Why? Why is there such a discrepancy between quotes for similar same work? And I've seen this. I've had someone come to me at the home show with 2 quotes after I just got off stage, hand me both quotes and say, I don't understand. And me look at it and go, I don't understand either. I mean, one is just more expensive.
Okay, so there's 2 ways to look at this. First, some contractors will outbid themselves out of a job because A, they're too busy, or B, they don't want to do it, so they want to double their profit margin just to make it worth it.
So that's the fuck you tax.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. On the flip side of things, depending on the intricacy of your bathroom, if it's a basic tunnel bathroom, 5x9, bathtub, vanity, and a shitter. That's about it. New tiles, whatever. You're looking at about 18 to 22K in that ballpark.
Yeah, that's the average.
Yeah, that's the average. So if somebody's coming in at 15, something's a little bit wrong there. They're not including maybe as much as the guy that's coming in at 25.
Right.
And that's where the contract comes in.
Yeah.
And then just saying, okay, well, this one includes, all my fasteners, all my membranes, all my studs and everything. This one doesn't include anything. It's just labor.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. You just have to really read contracts carefully and scope of work. Like I always say when I'm giving a quote, I always say to the client, I say, look, when we send you the quote, your eyes are going to go towards the numbers.
Oh, yeah.
I get it.
Sticker shock.
I get it.
Yeah.
But after that, I look at a quote, I call it a scope of work. The numbers are what they are. We use flat rates, so we don't have to think about it too much for especially bathrooms. We have flat rate. But take a look at the scope of work. Did I capture what I said?
Did you include everything within that scope of work?
Yeah.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse I hate it when halfway through a job, someone says, hey, Ryan, during the quoting process, that was 7 months ago, you told me that you do X, Y, Z, and maybe I forgot about it during the quoting process.
Yep.
And now I feel like I have to do it for free. Because I don't want to argue with the, especially, 9 times out of 10, if it's something small, I'm going to do it for free.
Well,
anyway.
We do that all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
But it just irritates me where it's like, well, why didn't you mention it when you read the contract? Did you read the contract?
Yeah. Or did you just sign on the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. Scope of work goes hand in hand with the contract. If you don't thoroughly go through the scope of work, then it doesn't marry up with the contract. And then when you go to do the work, let's say you're going to do 12-inch by 24-inch tiles, but you switched it to little 2-inch by 2-inch mosaics.
Yeah,
that's a massive change.
For labor, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked you this question. This is going to be the last question before we end the podcast, okay? I asked you the question about what advice would you give a homeowner? What advice would you give a contractor so that he doesn't get in a situation where he's stuck with a crazy, picky Karen of a client? And I like to think I'm pretty good at picking my clients, but I don't think clients realize that we pick them as much as they pick us.
Yep. That's very well said. Okay. And when it comes to picking out clients and stuff like that, it's a little bit easier said than done because a lot of people, especially contractors that are just starting off, they want to make everybody happy, which you as well as I know is impossible. Impossible.
We had one last week, 2 weeks ago, that I was very worried that we weren't going to be able to make the person happy. Ultimately, we did. You did. I mean, it's your job, not mine, to do that, and you did.
Yep.
But how do you, what advice would you give that young contractor? What red flags do you look for when you're doing quotes?
The runaround. When a client is asking you to quote and requote and requote and then do multiple meetings and all this before, a little bit of a contract deposit for a general scope of work, because like whenever, especially for larger scale projects, we meet within their budget. We give them expectations. Here's the minimal items, and then if you choose to upgrade it, it's an extra value. This, that, and the next. But like if you're turning around and you're quoting that 2, 3, 4 times, meeting them on site another 6 to 8 times, and you're not getting paid for any of this, well, that's a huge red flag right there. In my opinion, they're using it for information.
Yeah. And Rob said the same thing.
Yeah. So that's one thing right there. Uncertainty is not, like, I get it. There is a lot of clients that are uncertain. Not everybody's a designer and stuff like that. But if you go in and you do, let's say, a kitchen remodel, and they're like, okay, well, I think I want a bank of cabinets here, or maybe I can do a full pantry of cabinets, and then the island maybe move over here, maybe stay here, or do this or that. Well, to me, yes, they may want to do it, but they're not serious about it at that time. So it's kind of a little bit of a red flag, a little bit of a waste of time. If you're serious about it, you're going to go, you can do one of two things. Get a design team in there and get you to design it. And they'll show you, okay, we want this flow to work like this. This is like, where's your high traffic area? We should do this and that. They'll guide you.
Yeah. And they paid for a designer at that point.
That's
money
right.
has left them.
And exactly. So, they're, dedicated to the project. Or number 2, if you are sure of what you want, then you can, like, there's lots of places that'll do this for free. You go to IKEA, you give them basic dimensions and stuff, and they'll do a whole cabinet layout for you and everything. And then if you show up at the client's house and they say, this is what I want, well, it's serious. Whereas you go the first time, maybe I do this, maybe I do that. How are you supposed to quote maybes? How are you supposed to give them maybes? And then the worst part is if you turn around and you say, okay, we should do it like this, and you guide them, and then they don't like it because everybody's got their own opinion.
Right.
Then they may not pay you because they don't like it. Well, this is what you signed up for.
Yeah.
They
may not hire you.
But it's like, okay, well, you weren't sure, so I made the decision.
Right.
That's why I refuse to pick any paint colors, grout colors. Like, some clients will be like, oh, what grout color do you think I have? That's not me. Do not ask me that at all.
No.
Because that's on you to look at
and figure it out.
I might think something's nice, but you might not.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to Bruno about that the other day. Bruno's our Tyler. And he was like, yeah, they picked a color. I didn't agree with it, but it turned out pretty nice. But it wasn't his job to pick a color.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Hey, man. That was a great time. Appreciate it.
If you want to see more of Dustin, he's going to be on season 4 of the Contractor Ryan show on Rogers TV. And we are going to be framing an addition.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks.